Okay, everybody. Now is time. We need to start the first.
Hi, Mr. Im.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. It's time we have to start the first online class for 2021 ACP Alcob Cooperative Project.
Yep.
So it is my great honor to present as the speaker of the first online class. So before we start the class, as this is the first time for this ACP, so I would like to invite the person in charge of this program, including the teachers from each economy, Indonesia, Malaysia, Russia, and the Philippines. Also, we have the governing organization, which is the IACE, Institute of APEC Collaborative Education. This is the controlling organization for this program. So let me introduce Mr. Myung-Sun Park, the Senior Specialist of Program from IACE. Mr. Park, time is yours. Can you introduce yourself and IACE, please?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Im, and your colleagues and innovative, outstanding teachers from APEC member economies. Thank you so much for having me. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Myung-Sun Park, Senior Program Specialist from the Institute of APEC Collaborative Education. Busy because I'm head to Seoul, which is the capital of Korea, for business to inspect the venue for future education forum. So please understand that. Once again, thank you so much for having me in this valuable and meaningful occasion. And officially, I would like to congratulate Mr. Im of the legendary project. Close cooperation with outstanding and innovative educators from Indonesia, Malaysia, Russia, Sakha Republic, and the Philippines, last but not least, Korea. So I do hope all educators and students are able to enjoy the beautiful life classroom exchange. And please feel free to let us know if there's anything our institute can support for each of you and all of you. Thank you so much, and I wish you a great success of the event, as well as I wish you all to stay safe, healthy, and be happy at all times. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Park. Thank you. And now I would like to once again ask to everybody, as this is international online class, which have more than 100 participants. So everybody, except of the presenter, you please turn off the microphone. All sound should be mute. So your cooperation is highly appreciated. So once again, everybody except of the presenter, you please turn off the microphone, okay? Now, I would like to introduce the teacher in charge in each country, starting from Indonesia. So at first, Ms. Petra, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Im. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon. It's a great honor for me to join or participate in another IACE project that's online teaching. So I'm very happy because all 5 schools from economies can collaborate in this project. Thank you, Mr. Im, for your wonderful idea. Okay, thank you. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Ms. Petra. And for the second teacher from Indonesia, Ms. Sri, are you here?
Hi everyone, annyeonghaseyo. How are you?
Hi.
I'm so happy to be invited in this great event. So thank you so much for IACE. So we can participate in this great event. So hopefully this event can inspire everyone, every student in this Zoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lee, for your introduction. And now we would like to invite Ms. Lara from Sakha Republic, Russia. Ms. Lara, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everybody. Hello, dear my colleagues and dear students. I'm happy to see you today. And it's a great idea to take such kind of online classes every month. And I look forward to my online class.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lara. Are you done? Okay, thank you again, Ms. Lara. Now I would like to invite Mr. Farid from Malaysia. Mr. Farid, are you here?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello everyone. Annyeonghaseyo Korea. Selamat pagi Indonesia. Private Russia. So how are you everyone? My name is Mr. Farid Fauzi from SMK Sungai Kertas, Malaysia. Thank you IACE for the continuous opportunity, and thank you Mr. Im for this great program. So today from SMK Sungai Kertas we have 20 students and they will join around 11:40 because they have an examination and they will finish around 11:35 and they will join 11:40. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farid from Malaysia. And now from this online class, we have a new member from Philippines. So I would like to invite Mr. Kilore, the principal in Philippines. Mr. Kilore, are you here?
Hello, Mabuhay from the Philippines, Mr. Im, and our colleagues from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Sakha Republic, and of course from Korea. We are happy and we are very glad to be part of this ACE.
Sudah, Prof. Alhamdulillah, Prof.
And to tell you honestly, we don't have classes yet because our classes should start on the 13th of this month. So I only have my two teachers here, Miss Cecil Sison and Miss Mary Grace with me. And we're still waiting for Mrs. Ordoves, other school head or principal. One high school.
Boleh.
Thank you, Mr. Kilore. Okay.
Masuk dulu.
You know, this time of the online class, we have 5 economies and 7 schools and more than 100 participants. So I think that, you know, sometimes the communication will be some trouble. So you please kindly understand this technical matter. Okay, now it's time we started the official class with online. So please wait a couple of minutes. I will share the screen. Hold on, please. Okay. Today is the first online class under the name of HCP, and honorably I'm taking in charge of this online class. So let me introduce myself. This is Hyunbin Im from Seoul Technical High School. I am teaching mechanics. And I'm also one of the Alcob teacher. And what I would like to show you today, the topic is Welcome to Korea. Okay. Think about Korea. What kind of words or what image first come to you? Okay. You may say Korea is very famous for K-pop, or K-drama, or technology, or ICT, and the capital city Seoul, and our own language, Hangul. Today, I would like to share my idea with you, something differently about Korea. At first, where the country Korea is located. Coming from Indonesia, the distance between Indonesia and Korea is approximately more than 5,000 kilometers. Therefore, by plane, it takes more than 7 hours. And from Malaysia, it's more than 4,000 kilometers. And the plane takes you from Malaysia to Korea approximately 6 hours. How about the Saha? The Yakutsk is the capital city of Saha. Between Yakutsk and Seoul, the distance is approximately 3,000 kilometers, and it takes 1.5 hours by plane. Okay. And Korea, this country, the official name of this country is Republic of Korea, and the capital city is Seoul, located in Far East Asia. And we have the border with China and Russia by land, and by sea, the neighboring country is Japan. And the national flag, we say 태극기, which have the red and blue circle on the white background. I'm sorry once again. Is there somebody who turned on the microphone? Please turn off. I think that maybe you forgot to mute the sound. Please turn off the microphone. Okay. And what I would like to share my idea with you, I really would like to say something about the South and North Korea. My question to you, is that whether the South Korea and North Korea is the same country or a different country. Anybody answer, please? Anybody answer whether South or North Korea is the same country or a different country? Any student from any country? Okay. You know, this picture is come from the satellite from the space. So you can see the night is so different between North and South Korea. Actually, these two countries, my answer whether this is the same country or different country, my answer is yes and no. Why? The South and North Korea, we were one country for last 5,000 years, which have the one language, one race, and one people, and one culture. But very unfortunately, this country has been separated in the year of 1945, when the Korea was liberated from Japanese colonialism. Once again, I would like to ask to you, please turn off the microphone, please. Teacher from each country, you please instruct your student to turn off the microphone. Yeah. If we have the noise, it's rather difficult to maintain the class. Okay. Okay. Can I go ahead? This country was separated in 1945, and now we have two different governments in South and in North. As you may see, South Korea is a democratic government, and North Korea have the communism government, which means that we have a different political system. So let's look into the North Korea. North Korea is one of the poorest countries in the world, which is come from the dictatorship of Kim dynasty. You know, the family which controlling the North Korea, we say this is Kim's family. There is no religious freedom and no human rights and no food and no freedom. And the worst press freedom with a strict censorship. Every newspaper or broadcasting have to pass through the government censorship. So this is the status of the North Korea, and you may see the people. The people in the picture worship the Kim's family. And let's compare the North and South Korea. The official name of North Korea is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and they have the political system with communism. Total population is approximately 27 million in North Korea, and South Korea has 52 million in population. And the land size is, North Korea is bigger than South Korea. And the GDP, as I said, the North Korea is one of the poorest countries in the world. And the life expectancy, North Korea is expected for the longevity of 72 years, and South Korea is 83 years. And very strangely, maybe the other country in this presentation, you don't have the military obligation, only except in Korea. Every man in Korea have to serve in military for 2 years. But in case of North Korea, every man have to serve in military for 10 years. So that's why the North Korea is so strong, only in military. Okay. Let me talk about the relationship between South and North Korea some more. Have you ever heard about the Korean War? Yeah, this Korean War was started from 1950 to 1953. So in order to explain something about the Korean War, I think that I need to briefly introduce the history of Korea. This country, Korea, was started from 3 kingdoms. We say Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla. It was continued almost 700 years. After that, the Silla unified these 3 kingdoms, and the Silla was the first unified country in Korean history, which was continued from 7th century to 10th century. After Silla, we have a Goryeo dynasty and then Joseon dynasty. But very unfortunately, in the year of 1910, at the Joseon dynasty, Japanese imperialism conquered Korean peninsula, and we were occupied by Japanese imperialism. for 36 years, from 1910 to 1945. When Korean Peninsula was liberalized from Japanese imperialism, very unfortunately, this country divided with two parts, North and South. And from 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea in order to unify this country with communism. So this is the brief history of Korean Peninsula. And as I said, when the Korean Peninsula was liberalized in 1945, the South was occupied by United States and North Korea was occupied by Soviet Union. And this country divided into two at the 38th parallel, like this picture. And this is a picture of the Korean War. And it is the worst tragedy in Korean history. More than 3 million people in both military and civilian died during Korean War. And 21 countries from the flag of UN sent the troops and aid to protect South Koreans' democracy. So this is a brief history of the Korean War. After the Korean War, this country was divided into again, not by the 38th parallel, and we say DMZ. I'm not sure whether you have ever heard about the DMZ. DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone. This is the border between South and North Korea. So the map can show you how this DMZ look like. And now this is the new border between South and North Korea. And you may see the capital city, the Seoul, is very close to DMZ, the border between South and North Korea. It is approximately 40 kilometers from the DMZ to Seoul, which is just 1 hour driving. And one of the very particular place of the DMZ, we say Panmunjom. Okay, Panmunjom is a small building in the middle of DMZ, and this is something very special place because this is we called JSA, which means that Joint Security Area. So the Joint Security Area means that both South and North Korean soldiers get together, as well as some troops from UN, United Nations. So actually there are 3 countries get together, 3 soldiers from United Nations, South Korea and North Korea get together here in Panmunjom in the middle of DMZ. So this is the picture, how the Panmunjom, the JSA look like. So these 4 soldiers are North Korean soldiers. They look at each other, and these 2 soldiers with the back, they are South Korean soldiers. So these 4 North Korean soldiers and the 2 South Korean soldiers get together, and you see a small concrete wall. This is the border between South and North. And you see This is a very interesting picture of 2 years ago. You know this guy? Yeah, this is the former president of the United States, Mr. Trump. And you know, this guy is the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. Okay, a very young guy. I'm not sure he is in his 30s. And this is the current South Korean president, Mr. Moon Jae-in. So these three people get together under the introduction of South Korean President Mr. Moon Jae-in, Mr. Kim, North Korean leader, and Mr. Trump, the United States President, meet each other and shake hands. It was just 2 years ago, and they met here in Panmunjom. Okay, and how this Panmunjom look like? This map shows that the area of Panmunjom. Okay, the blue line in the middle. This is, we say, MDL, which stands for Military Division Line, the actual border between South and North Korea. And this circle is all area of JSA. And we can see several buildings which pass through the MDL. This is the meeting place. And you see from this picture, yeah, one flat small building. This is the picture, and this is the map. And in the north of MDL, there is a building in north. This is Panmunga, the North Korean building. And here under the south of the MDL, we have several buildings which is occupied by the South Korean government. So once again, this is the area of JSA, Joint Security Area, which is located in Panmunjom, and this blue line is the military division line. So this is just a part of DMG, and if we see some more about the DMG, actually this is 250 kilometer long and 4 kilometer wide of the border between South and North Korea. And literally, DMG stands for demilitarized zone. So literally, there should be no military, but this is some kind of paradox. And in reality, this is the most dangerous border in the world. Why? Because it is the most heavily militarized zone. Why? You know, when we finished the Korean War in 1953, both South and North Korea agreed that we don't put any military in DMZ, but as the escalation of the military tension between South and North Korea, there are increased military and weapons across the DMZ in both South and North Korea. But inside of the DMZ, like this picture, there should be no people and no soldier. So we say this is the heaven of the wildlife. So just beside of the DMZ, there are lots of tanks, guns, missiles, airplanes, everything are now componented in South and North Korea. And every Korean man have to go this DMZ to protect this country for 2 years, including myself. So now I would like to show you something, my final presentation. maybe you see the left picture in newspaper very currently, you know, a few weeks ago, Afghanistan was occupied by the military group Taliban, and lots of people, hundreds of thousands of people would like to evacuate from Afghanistan. Actually, this was last month, August in 2021. And now you see very similar picture on your right. This is the picture during Korean War in December 1950. This picture shows that lots of people from North Korea, they want to go to South Korea to look into the freedom, democracy, not communism. Okay, so this is one of the United States military ship, and they invited thousands of people who wanted to evacuate from North Korea to South Korea. So in some reason, these two pictures have very similar. And the reason why I show you this picture is that, so this is the last month of the Afghanistan, and we South Korea sent several military aircraft with South Korean Air Force, and we took 390 refugees from Afghanistan to South Korea. And the South Korean soldiers welcomingly invited children, students, parents from Afghanistan who wanted to seek for the freedom and the democracy. So the people in Korea welcomed these Afghanistan brothers and sisters. So after 10 hours of flying, these Afghanistan people arrived in Incheon airport. So this is the another issue I would like to show you, because you know this country was liberalized from North Korean invasion in 70 years ago, and the military from the United States saved lots of people from North Korea, and they brought the North Korean people to South Korea. And now I believe that it is our turn to invite the refugees from Afghanistan who want to get the freedom and the democracy, and we welcome these people from Afghanistan to Korea. So, you know, the history is circulating. So we received the freedom, and now it's time we have to pay them. So this is my brief presentation of today's class. So if you have any question or comment and clarification, I'm ready to answer from you. Okay. Any student or teacher, if you have any comment or question, you are kindly welcome. And now is your time to ask questions, please. When you speak, you please turn on your microphone and ask me. So any student or teacher, if you want any question, you just turn on the microphone and you can ask, then I will reply. Any teacher or any student, anybody is okay. The first question is most brave man.
Mr. Im, thank you for your lesson. It was very interesting. Most of our students are interested of Korea. So,
Okay. So what is your question? It's just a comment or you have a question?
Thank you.
Hmm.
Mr. Im, thank you for your incredible facts and real facts about Korea. And lots of teenagers are interested in Korea and K-pop in our republic. And my student, Lera, just thanked you for your lesson.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lara, and your students. Thank you for your comment. Okay. Okay. Any other comment or question? How about education from Indonesia or Malaysia?
Okay, let me try to ask you, Mr. Im. It is a very nice explanation telling about Korea. So I'm very interested in about military service. So it's an obligatory for all male after high schools to do such a kind of military service. And what happened to the males who don't want to join or participate in military service? Okay, thank you, Mr. Im.
Okay, so thank you for your comment, Ms. Petra. Okay, any other question or comments? Okay, if there is no more comment or question, now I would like to finish my first online class. Okay.
I have one question.
Okay.
So regarding to Korean development, as I know, South Korea don't have any mineral resources like petroleum and others. But how Korean government can develop South Korean country as a developing country?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Farid, for your thank you for your question. Yeah, as you say that it is true that South Korea have no natural resources. We don't have any gold. We don't have petroleum. We don't have gas. So in this country, we don't have any mineral or natural resources. We only have human beings. You know, in this small country, we have more than 50 million people. And the reason the Korean economy developed in very short period, I believe that this is come from education. Okay, you know, even though this country we don't have many educational background, but everybody in this country have a very strong willingness, motivation to get education. Okay, so lots of people, most of the people, I mean the parents, invested time, money, effort to educate their children. Okay, so at this moment, I think that approximately 70% of the high school graduates, they enter into university. And also the remaining 30% of the high school graduate, they get a job. you know, like my school, this is one of the vocational high school in Korea. So most of the students in my school are expected to get a job immediately after graduate of this school. Okay. So until now, this school have more than 60,000 graduates, and we produce lots of skilled laborers to send to our industry, including shipbuilding, semiconductor, automobile, every field of Korean industry. The graduate of Seoul Technical High School students are staying there. And I believe that this is one of the main engine to develop this Korean's economy. So in conclusion, the main power comes from education, and specifically the vocational education in Korea is the winner who devoted themselves for the Korean economy development. Is it okay for your question, Mr. Farid?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Im.
Thank you for your question. Okay. Somebody, I'm sorry, somebody turned on the
Mr. Im, I want to ask you.
Okay, Ms. Lee, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Im.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any hope or expectations to visit North Korea?
For South Korean people?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Ms. Lee. Yeah, this is something interesting question. My answer is no. Any South Korean people or North Korean people are not allowed to visit each other. Okay, but this is the general idea. But sometimes, if when the military confrontation or the tension between South and North Korea are a little bit better, each government allows the people. For example, you know, the South Korean people to meet the North Korean family in some specific area at the specific time. Just a kind of the one-time event we have experienced. But in general, it is strictly prohibited to visit any North Korean or any South Korean to visit their counterpart. Because, you know, the DMZ, I know that you visited there. This is very strict area, and nobody can cross the DMZ. You know, if you try to cross the DMZ, you should be shot by either South or North Korean soldiers.
Oh my God.
So it is impossible.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so
for
much.
your question.
What about for Indonesian people, Mr. Im? For example, me from Indonesia want to visit North Korea. So what happened to me then?
If you really wanted to visit North Korean as not South Korean people by a foreigner, you can visit North Korea through China or through Russia, not through the South Korea, because you know South Korea, the DMZ prevent you from visiting North Korea. But if you get the visa from North Korea, then as far as I know, there is a direct flight from Beijing to Pyongyang, or direct flight from Vladivostok of Russia to Pyongyang. So these two cities, Beijing and Vladivostok, they have a direct flight to North Korean capital Pyongyang. But this is only for foreigners. No South Korean people are allowed to enter into North Korea. But you know, this is my personal history. You know, before I become a teacher, I worked as an international businessman in one of the trading company in South Korea. During my international business, actually, I did the business with North Korea. But you should be questioned. You know, I am a South Korean people. How I can get the international business with North Korea? Then we have people, an agent of American citizenship, but actually he is Korean American. Okay, so he can visit both South Korea and North Korea, because when he visits North Korea, he gets the citizenship of United States. So this is no problem. And also he is Korean, so he can visit South Korea, no problem. So one agent have the negotiation with me as well as with the people in North Korea. So we had the business, and I exported some machines to North Korea. So this is my personal history, but in reality, I should not visit North Korea.
Okay.
So okay, thank you for your nice and interesting question, Ms. Lee.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Im. Mr. Im, actually, there are 5 students. They are who want to ask you, but they feel shy. So I just want to motivate them. Come on, my student from Vocational High School number 6 Palembang. Yeah. Okay. Please ask Mr. Im.
Hello. Okay. Yep.
So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Marceline, and I'm from Vocational High School number 6 Palembang, and I'm from class 10 culinary 1. So I have a question. So my question is, which countries were involved in the 1950 to 1953 Korean War? Thank you.
Your question once again, please. Once again.
Open your mouth, Marceline, please.
Okay, my question is, which countries were involved in the 1950 to 1953 Korean War? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question about the Korean War. Actually, at the day of June 25 in 1950, at the 4 a.m., millions of North Korean soldiers invaded South Korea, but you know, this is just 5 years later from Korean Peninsula liberalized from Japanese colonialism. So both North Korea and South Korea have not many weapons, not many soldiers. So most of the weapons for the North Korea, it was come from Soviet Union, USSR, or China. So both
dengan lebih interaktif ya Bapak dan Ibu, karena jika berbicara sendiri kayaknya tuh nggak nyaman sekali.
Please, okay. Both China and the Soviet Union supported North Korea to invade South Korea. Okay.
Saya mengajar sebagai dosen mengampu mata kuliah di Calling. Jadi apa yang saya sampaikan.
Somebody please turn off your microphone. Okay, and you know, at the very beginning of the Korean War, the South Korea have no power to prevent the North Korean military. So almost of the Korean peninsula was occupied by the North Korea, and then at the time of 3 months later, I mean in September. The UN, United Nations, decided to support South Korea. So 21 countries sent military to protect South Korea, including United States and some countries in Europe and Asia. And more than 100,000 soldiers from these 21 countries come to South Korea. And finally, they saved South Korea. So we believe that we owe them. So now, you know, South Korea would like to pay back those kind of help which we get the Korean War from these 21 countries. Now we invite the people, I mean the veterans of the Korean War, and we regularly invite them to come to Korea and to share our victory against North Korea. So this is my answer. Is it okay, Ms. Marceline, for your question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, any other question or comment?
Excuse me, Mr. Im.
Okay. Okay.
I have question, Mr. Hyunbin.
Okay. So who will the first? Yeah. Now I think that the time is almost done. So I will only allow 2 more questions. So Mr. Taraka or Ms. Atika, who will be the first questioner? Okay, Ms. Atika, can you come again?
Okay.
Ms. Atika.
Excuse me.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Atika. I'm from SMAN 3 Padang Panjang, Indonesia. I would like to ask you about this question. So I've ever heard about North Korea, that North Korea is a defensive country, which the country is filled with a lot of laws. So it is safe for the South Korean people to go to North Korea.
Okay.
So
yeah, thank you for your question. As I said to Ms. Lee, the teacher in SMKN 6, you know, South Korean people are not allowed to visit North Korea, or North Korean people are not allowed to visit South Korea. Both of the people cannot come each other. Okay. But now currently, you know, the economic situation and the political situation in North Korea is terrible. So many people from North Korea, they would like to evacuate from North Korea. So many people from North Korea, someday they come to South Korea. Sometimes at first they come to China and then they come to South Korea. And sometimes it is very dangerous, but sometimes some people from North Korea just cross the DMZ and come to South Korea. But it is very dangerous, and many of them was killed when they crossed the DMZ, and they were killed from by the North Korean soldiers. But anyway, it is very dangerous, and they evacuate from North Korea to South Korea. So this is the reality. But generally, any North Korean people just visit South Korea, impossible. Same way, South Korean people cannot visit North Korea. Okay? Is it okay for your question?
Okay, Mr. Im, thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Atika. Okay, now I think that this is the last question from Mr. Taraka. Are you ready?
Okay. Ready.
Okay, come again.
Okay. First thing first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Taraka Widirana. I am from Vocational High School number 6, Palembang, Indonesia.
Okay.
And I have a question. Why did the Korean War 1950 to 1953 occur?
Why? Okay, it's very interesting question. You know, at the time of 1950s, 1960s, you know, maybe you learn from the history that we say Cold War. Have you ever heard about the Cold War? Okay, this is the Cold War means that this is something confrontation between United States and Russia. Even though they do not shoot each other, but the military tension is very high, and they would like to increase their power, their influence to other countries. So the Korean War between South and North Korea, why it happened, I think that this is the kind of the power game between United States and Russia, I mean the Soviet Union at that time. The Soviet Union, they would like to have much more influence to other countries as a communism. So they supported North Korea, and asked them, okay, you occupy South Korea and you can get much more communist regime in this old Korean peninsula. So this is the reason I believe North Korea invaded South Korea. Okay, so Mr. Taraka, is it okay for your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your nice question, Mr. Taraka.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, any other any teachers and other students?
Excuse me, Mr. Im.
Hello. Okay, you have a question?
I have a question.
Okay, so okay, you are the last questioner. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, from your point of view, as a developed country, do you feel global citizenship education is important to the world's population?
Okay, thank you for your nice question about the global citizenship education. You know, during my presentation, I said something about the situation in Afghanistan. Okay, so why this is important in the current event in Afghanistan? Because now, you know, we are living in a world of globalization. Even though we are living in this country, Korea, and you living in Malaysia, and the issue in Afghanistan is both important to you and to me. Why? Because, you know, now is the world is one family, one country like that. Okay, so this is the main goal of the globalization as well as global citizenship education. This kind of the online class under the name of ACP is one of the global citizenship education. Now here in our Zoom, we have 5 different countries in this small computer screen. Okay, we have 7 different schools. Okay, now we have more than 100 students get together, and we exchange our idea, our knowledge, our experience. So this is also one of the very important factor of global citizenship education. Why? You know, the world, when you become adult, the world you are living should be much closer. And I believe that there should be no border between Korea and Malaysia, no border between Malaysia and Indonesia, no border between Indonesia and the Philippines or Russia. We are living in the one world, and we are communicate each other. We travel each country. You know, at this time we have under the influence of the pandemic from the COVID-19. But I believe that maybe this year or next year, the COVID-19 pandemic should be terminated. Then, you know, I really hope to visit your school or the schools in Indonesia or Saha with my students, because, you know, my student and your student to be a friend. Okay, so this is my idea about the global citizenship education. Thank you for your nice question, Ms. Elia from Sotas, Malaysia. So I think that this is already 1:30 Korean time for finishing my first online class. So at this time, I would like to ask all the students, you may leave from the Zoom, and only teachers, please shortly stay, and we will have a short discussion about our next online class. So anyway, once again, thank you for everybody from SMAN 3, Padang Panjang, Indonesia, SMKN 6, Palembang, Indonesia, and Sungai Kertas, Malaysia, and Yakutsk City Lyceum in Saha Republic, Russia, and my old friend, Mr. Gilore Oplencia from Philippines. So now I would like to finish all the procedure of my first online class. And only the teachers, you please stay a couple of minutes in the Zoom, and let's discuss our next class. And the students, thank you. You may leave from the Zoom. Thank you, everybody.